Salam, hello and good morning. My name is Jawad Ahmed Fareed and I will be your host today for our discussion on pricing. The primary goal of the pricing game is to answer a simple question. Who do we want to be? Do we want to be price setters, people who determine what a product is worth and how and where and when and for how much is it sold in the market? If you have a great product, phenomenal demand, you can set the price you want to charge and your customers will take it. A price taker, on the other hand, takes the price the market has set. Here we no longer have a choice of how, where, or how much the product is sold. We simply sell the product at the price the market is willing to pay. Who do you want to be? That, in essence, is the pricing game. Think of pricing as a board game. On that board game, we play moves and we play those moves with pieces on the board. Pieces in the pricing puzzle or the pricing game are dimensions. 3 dimensions that we see in front of us here. First dimension is value. What is the perceived value of the product for our customers? How do customers view our product? Is it a nice to have? Is it a discretionary product? Or is it something that is as essential, as necessary to them as breathing? Second dimension is contribution. What did it take us, the product builder, the product developer, to build this product? When you think of a magical product experience, a product that makes us say, wow, that magic tends to exist at the intersection of value, where a customer perceives the value of a product as very, very high, and contribution, where we put in a great deal of effort to create that magical experience. If we've created that magic, our decision on how and where we price the product, remember the two states? The first state is a price taker. Second state is a price setter. Our decision to place the product in between these two values determine how the product moves. So 3 dimension. Price, what is the product sold for? Value, how do customers view the product? How do they value it? And contribution, effort on our part. From a pricing perspective, what is our goal? The goal for the customer to try our product? Is it for us to convert that customer so that they buy our product? Is it to retain them when threatened by a competitive product? What can we do to ensure that the customer stays with us? Or is it for us to harvest customers, where we don't want to work with all customers, we only want to work with a specific profile or a type of a customer? How does this translate into pricing objectives? If the objective is trial on our part, we want to set the price at a point where it's a no-brainer for the customer to try our product. In this specific instance, it's the customer, sometimes the market, that really sets the price. In the second instance, if the goal is conversion, the market sets the price. What is the price at which this buy would become a no-brainer? The third stage, where we are threatened by a competitive entry, where we already have established position in the market, the customer sets the price. What do I have to do to retain you? What do I have to do to make sure that you don't switch to the competition? The harvesting stage, this generally happens when the product is in a mature stage of its life cycle, where there is increased competition and we have to decide which one of the customers do we want to focus on retaining and which one of the customers do we want to let go. In the harvesting stage, we, the product developers, the product builders, set the price. The next decision is, what is our product? How do you classify our product? Is our product a generic product that has multiple substitutes in the market? Is it a mainstream product with a steady, stable demand? Is it an innovative product or is it a bleeding edge product? If you want the customer to try a generic product, the conversation is very different. You want the customer to try an innovative product, the conversation is very different. You want the customer to try a bleeding edge product that looks like, feels like, behaves like science fiction, the conversation is very different. Third component is segment. So take the example that we just spoke about earlier. You want the customer to try a bleeding edge product. We're now in a game of interlocking puzzles. If you've picked up trial and if you've picked up bleeding edge, then the only piece that fits are innovators and early adapters. If you want the customer to try a generic or mainstream product, the only customers that make sense are mainstream and followers. The final element in this game is the stage decision. Are you just about to launch it? Are you in the mainstream conversion mode? Are you growing your market share or are you harvesting? All 4 elements determine who you want to be. Trial and conversion are the goal, and the product is innovative and bleeding edge, then you're only looking at innovators and adapters, and your product is likely to be in a launch and conversion stage. Pricing model that you use here is going to be very different if you're trying to retain or harvest customer for a mainstream product, targeting mainstream and follower customers in a growth stage. Pricing model is a function of where you are on the board. This framework looks at 3 different product market fit models. The first is a hair on fire mode, a hard fact mode, and a future vision mode. Maps that to customer mindset, product category, and the challenges you must overcome to hit product market fit. Remember, this is from a PMF context, but pricing plays a fairly important role. So hair on fire mode, a product which is very much in demand, customer is dying for it, and he wants you to help him or her now. Challenge in this category is that everybody is aware of that and the category is very crowded. Challenge you must overcome is noise. In a crowded category, by definition, the market as well as the pricing model is going to be competitive. You are not going to be able to deploy a cost plus or a value model in a crowded category. A hard fact model is a model where people have accepted the status quo and have learned to live with it. So the market is stagnant, is not going anywhere. You have to break the underlying habit of your customers so that they would switch to your revolutionary product. A future vision product is a product which is as good as sci-fi. It's as good as a science fiction novel or a film or a movie. Product that people would say, I would believe it when I see it. The you're right model, the category does not exist. You are the inventor of the category and you must overcome disbelief in the sense that, is this really happening? Is this possible? Is this true? For a hair on fire product, you really have to be best in class, which again indicates and suggests that your biggest risk is competition, which basically means that you cannot be priced higher than the competition. You can be different, but from a pricing perspective, you'll have to be a price taker. From a hard fact perspective, you'll have a novel solution. A novel solution that is, let's say, 10x cheaper than the most recent solution. You have to make it worth solving. And that can only happen if you take a revolutionary approach. Again, you will have to be a price taker. So in this specific case, the option, the model that you're looking at is price taker. In the hard fact model also, the most common scenario is going to be a price taker. The only scenario where you want to be a price set is the future vision product, where you build a product that does not exist, focusing on a category that does not exist. What makes it possible for you to break all those expectations because you figured out one genuine, interesting, different, new way of doing things that nobody else has figured out. The risk here obviously is that if you take the wrong path, then you're going to die. In the hair on fire category, one of the best examples is education technology, or EdTech for short. Over the last 50 years, EdTech has taken many shapes and form, sometimes on a completely truly revolutionary basis. But the primary challenge in the EdTech category is the ease with which those advantages are replicated and how quickly the space becomes crowded. Class Clowns by Jonathan Nee, an in-depth collection of cases from the education industry going all the way back from 1970 to the post.com bust, walks through a number of truly revolutionary technology companies that focused on the education technology space but fell flat on their face when it came to generating returns for their investors. In the hard fact category, think of everything which has become 10x cheaper over the last 30 years. Hotel bookings, to buying books online, from transferring money in the blink of an eye from one corner of the planet to another. An underlying revolutionary business model made things exceedingly cheaper for consumers, and over a period of 2 to 3 decades scaled up to a point where the technology and the business both made money for their founders, owners, and investors. In the future vision category, take the example of agentic AI. We don't have to go back 30 years in this specific instance, just go back 2 years to December 2022. In December 2022, did any of us believe that there would be a wide range of large language models available that would help us write novels, prepare rational, well-structured counter-arguments to a logical debate, or even help write code? All of this was your right disbelief. I would believe it when I see its solutions. Within 3 to 6 months of the launch of the original flag bearer in this space, ChatGPT, we saw a range of competing solutions with an array of options in terms of depth, deployment, cost, responsiveness, and intelligence. What was a right solution in December 22 is a part of our daily lives in January 2025. So product A is a comprehensive insurance policy for a two-wheeler or for a bike. This comprehensive insurance policy commits to paying claim of between 40,000 to 150,000 PKR. It's based on the assessment that about 2 million bikes a year are sold in Pakistan, and KLI, which stands for Karachi, Lahore, Islamabad, which is the 3 large urban centers, plus a couple of tier 2 and a number of tier 3 cities. So across these 50 cities, my expectation is that about 2 million bikes are sold between 40 to 150,000 rupees. Pricing model suggests that the average premium that we're going to look at based on an insured value of 100,000 rupees is going to be about 3,000 rupees before commissions and 3,158 rupees after commission. How did we get to this 3,158? 2% is a claim rate, which on this value of 100,000 leads to an expected claims of about 2,000. Another percent is put aside for reserves. Maybe our claim distribution or claim estimation is not exactly accurate, or all the claims don't come in time or are not reported in time. So that adds an additional reserve of about 1,000 rupees, which gives us a total premium value before commissions of about 3,000. We load this premium with a commission rate of about 5% to get a break-even rate of 3,158. This is a rate at which all our costs are covered, but we're not making any profit or losses. What is the goal? Our goal is market share. For goal is market share, we know for a fact that our pricing is not going to be a price setting pricing, it's going to be a price taking pricing, and the model that we're going to use is going to be a competitive model. Is this an innovative product? No, it's a mainstream product. Everybody buys auto insurance, even for two-wheelers. Who are we focusing on? Are we focusing on adapters, or are we focusing on mainstream customers? We are likely to focus on mainstream customers, maybe an inkling and sprinkling of innovators and adapters. Why? Because not all customers would be interested in buying a product using their phone. Our focus, remember, digital insurance platform. We're not using the traditional conventional physical channel distribution. We're actually using a mobile channel for this one. From a product perspective, is this a young product? No, it's a mature product. It's a product that has existed in that market for a very long time. What's the outcome that we're focused on? We want the customer to try a product. Our target outcome is trial. We want the customer to try a product. How do we achieve that? We achieve that by making sure our product is priced very, very competitively and ties in with the life arc of the customer. Our assessment is, given where he is from a life arc perspective, it would also make sense for him to buy the personal accident and the health insurance product. So our objective is to use the trial to get him into our network, hook him essentially with a product which is a loss leader, and then once we build that relationship, convert him in buying our products on the personal accident and on the health insurance side. You've opted to go with the 6,667 rupee premium. Also assume that based on this, the market size that you can target and access is about 5 million customers. And of those 5 million, you'll convert about 2% of these customers, which would give you a net premium of about 1.3 billion rupees. That's your best case scenario. But what if you change the pricing to a point where it's ultra competitive and set at 3,947? So it's about 30% cheaper. Two things happen. First, you've increased the target market size from 5 million to about 12 million. More importantly, your penetrations also jumped from about 2% to 4%, which then allows you to earn about 3.7 billion rupees in premiums for the same product with a different pricing strategy. So this was baseline conversion using 6,667 as a premium. That gave you 2% conversion and a 5 million market and a total conversion of about 1.3 billion. A competitive conversion that used a much more competitive premium increased the elasticity of your reach, increased the elasticity of your conversion, and also increased the net premium that you achieved. This is pricing at work. It answers the same question we'd posed right at the start, the question posed by Roger Martin. Who do you want to be? Do you want to be a price taker or a price setter? At a high level, from a pricing modeling perspective, there are essentially three models. The first model is cost plus. The objective of the cost plus model is to cover a cost, is to break even. So when we priced our product at 3,158, that was break even pricing. 3,158 would make no profit or no loss for us. If we wanted to add a loading for additional profitability, the premium would most likely change from 3,158 to something closer to maybe 4,000 rupees. Break-even pricing or cost plus pricing is also known as marginal pricing. If I run a site or a blog site or information content site, what is my cost per user? What is my cost per seat? What is my cost per client? If I have a SaaS model, a sell solution on a usage basis, I can do my pricing in such a fashion that I have a benchmark sense of how many seats per average client am I going to sell. I can also do a model which is much more common on the payment side, which is a cost per transaction model. Both of these models, the cost plus model and the cost per user per seat per client model, cost per transaction model, are models their primary focus is on recovering the total cost base and some level of profit based on some target usage or target utilization of the platform. The next model number 2 on our side, is the value model. Here, the focus is not on cost recovery. Here, the focus is on what is the product worth to our customers. Whatever that worth is, we can charge up to 30%. It doesn't matter what it costs us. It might just cost us 1% of what it is worth to a customer, but we can charge up to 30% and customers will willingly pay this amount. So you must understand what product features for this specific customer segment have the highest perceived value. And that's the point, wherever that point is on this cube where you place your pricing choices. From the staging perspective that we presented earlier, in the pricing game, if you're looking for trial and conversion for a value product, the value product is most likely going to be an innovative bleeding edge platform. It's not going to be a generic mainstream product. You're going to focus on innovators and early adapters. You're going to focus on launch and conversion. But now in this specific context, even though you're looking at value, it's possible that your pricing strategy at launch stage may be very different from the pricing strategy at conversion, from the pricing strategy at growth. Depending on your goals, your product, the segment you're targeting, and the stage of where you are, your pricing strategy will change and evolve over a period of time. The third and final model on the pricing side is a competitive approach. A competitive approach is driven by a different set of dimensions. Remember the first piece, when we looked at value, we looked at product features, customer segment, and perceived value. In a competitive product, we're looking at the competitive landscape, who else is there, the spectrum of service, where is it that we're competing, and our positioning. How do customers perceive our product, not just with respect to the features we offer, but with respect to what else is available in the market. The end result is the same question. The first question, the only question that we want to answer in the pricing game. Who do you want to be? Do you want to be a price taker? Do you want to be a price setter? Depending on the stage of the game, while you may start off as a price taker because you're doing a competitive launch in a competitive space, your ultimate objective, your ultimate goal is to evolve, is to grow, is to get to a point where you can be a price setter. What does it take to be a price setter? How do you get to be a price setter? To become a price setter requires you to take a step back and think holistically about how does the pricing model work? How does the pricing game work? Pricing game essentially is two separate games. The first game is trying to figure out this part. How do customer segments, product features, and value come together? And how do they map with respect to product life cycle? Ultimately, the game starts with segment selection and where we are with respect to the customer are, the role our product plays in the life of that customer, the spectrum of service at which you compete, practice of our craft, and the life cycle, the stage of the product with respect to itself and to other products in that specific market. What do you think is the underlying pricing model that a AAA game follows? Is it cost plus? Is it value? Or is it competitive pricing? So a AAA rated game uses technology to create reach and address the distribution challenge, but more importantly, create an experience that leads to both trial and franchise building over a period of time. Take Blizzard as an example. Studio that started in 1992 with a few thousand customers, in 2025 commands the following of over 100 million customers globally. How did that happen? The short answer is technology. Usage of technology create an experience that drove trials and built a franchise year on year and year till they got from a few thousand customers in 1992 to 100 million customers 32 years later. What was the underlying product? Entertainment. Or as my friend Habibullah Khan puts it, the third space. We all work and operate in three different spaces. First space and second space are the spaces that we live in, at work, at school, or at home. The third space is a space where we go to be ourselves. AAA rated game provides an opportunity for anyone, anywhere in the world to escape to their third space and be who they want to be who can they never be in their first or second space. To a large extent, that's a function of the experience that makes it possible for somebody to not just see or believe or act, but actually feel that they are a troll hunter. That's the underlying product. How do you put value on the third space? How do you quantify it? And if you are able to quantify it, how does that lead to a per user per seat pricing? We're now talking about pricing power. Where does pricing power come from? It comes from the ability to play the game that we've spoken about so many times in our earlier conversation. Do you think a standard payment solution that allows you to process credit card payments on your online store part of the future vision? I don't think so. There's nothing visionary about taking a credit card number, paying 2.5% MDR and processing a payment. Is it hard fact? It is what it is. So you have to pay that 2.5% MDR and you will get paid in the next 7 to 10 days. Maybe. Is it hair on fire? Are we dying for a new payment solution? I don't think so. So for the payment solution, the most reasonable positioning is it is what it is. It's a given, right? The payment processing, the online payment processing industry, is that growing at a 10, 15, 20, 30% month on month or year on year rate? Not likely. Break into this market with a new product. You have to overcome the habit of using credit and debit cards, which is what players like Bitrefill are doing. Assuming you were able to find such a solution, how would you price it? Would it be cost plus? Would it be value? Or would it be competitive? Given the fact that the payment space is heavily regulated and fairly crowded, you really think that you'll be able to charge for value? Or would it be competitive pricing driven and set by the market? If you want to be a price setter, if that's the end goal, the destination that you have in mind for your product pricing models, which one of these categories do you want to compete in? Hair on fire, which is crowded, where you'll never get a chance to be a price setter but always be a price taker. Hard fact, where you have to come up with a revolutionary approach that you can use to break long set habits or future vision. It depends on what the underlying product is and what the context around that specific product is. There is a wide spectrum of choices that lies between being a price taker and being a price setter. If you take a step back and think about what does it take to be a price setter requires you to bridge 4 worlds. You have to have a fairly deep understanding of how pricing models work and how they interact with the product life cycle. You have to understand which customer segment would allow you to be a price setter. You have to understand how the product life cycle and the multiple stages that we've spoken about in our conversation today fit into this. And you have to understand where you are in the launch cycle and what is it that you really want to achieve from your pricing strategy and model. Key to becoming a price setter is to understand how your product help customers work through their dreams, aspiration. Are there examples of price setting behavior? GPU compute. Take the latest releases of any GPU card, whether offered by NVIDIA or AMD. The Grace Hopper architecture, the most recent addition to the NVIDIA line on the GPU compute side, offers exaflop capacity for a few $100,000 and change. Hoka shoes, generally in short supply depending on the model you're looking for, focus on extreme comfort. They fall in a category of shoes called super shoes that help runners go where no runner has gone before. Medium, the site that I use for writing on a regular basis, has made the writing experience so enjoyable and painless that I'd rather write on Medium first than on my own blog. Canva, the site for design and designers, allows me to put together design with zero background in design. Socrative, the tool that I use as an academic, makes it easy for me to create quizzes, midterm assessments and exams and deploy them over a large group of students painlessly. If you want to be a price setter, you have to understand something far more fundamental in the product world. You can't be a price setter without producing magic. How do you produce magic? You produce magic by producing something of incredible value, incredible perceived value on behalf of your customers by putting in the same amount of incredible effort. Magic allows you to get to product market fit. But how do you get to product market fit? You get to product market fit by playing the correct pricing game. Depends on where you place yourself on the pricing spectrum between a price taker and a price setter. The key part to remember is to ensure to stay on the right side of this image, is to stay on the value, effort, magic and PMF side and to not drift on the left side where frauds and lemons exist. And that is all I had to say on the pricing side.